Good morning. It's good to see everyone. It's good to be here. We're thankful to God for this particular day. We're thankful to God for you all being here. If you're here this morning, if you're visiting for the first time, you all are all the guests here at Easthaven Church of Christ. We're always delighted and we're thrilled whenever we have visitors. We're always excited. We anticipate every first visit, and those who don't know about the Lord's church will come and drop in on us. God, the Spirit and the truth. You know, for the last just about 2 weeks, the most famous, or should I say infamous word that has been plaguing the radio, television, social media, the airwaves has been Harvey. Yes. Everything has been Harvey. You watch television, you've been on social media, they've been raising money for those who have been affected by Hurricane Harvey, those who have been displaced due to Hurricane Harvey, and even Tennessee, Memphis, Nashville, places that are not even associated or nearby geographically by Houston, and those on the coast have been able to take in those who have evacuated because of Hurricane Harvey. And so it gets one to start thinking about the impact of storms in life. And then you realize that storms are natural occurring events. Storms happen all day, every day. Storms happen in the life of Jesus. That's our text. Look at Matthew chapter 8. Matthew chapter 8. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and woke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish, or we are perishing. So I want to have your attention for just a moment this morning, as all of us have thinking about Hurricane Harvey and all of those situations that have been affected by it. There are some things about storms that we need to consider. Let's advance to the next slide. Our title this morning is Some Things About Storms. All right. There is some things about storms. I believe when you look at the text, begin at verse number 23 to verse number 26, there are at least 3 things that we can learn about storms. First of all, storms come at the most inopportune time. From verse number 23. Then at verse number 24, storms cause a lot of damage. And then in verse number 25, storms cause us to be beside ourselves. They can be unsettling at times. So some things about storms. First of all, they come at the most inconvenient times, the most inopportune times. As a matter of fact, you think about our life and how we live on a day-by-day basis. Pretty much for the most part, our lives are structured around time, places that we have to be, things that we have to do, assignments that have to be turned in on time. But then when we think about storms, storms can be very inconveniencing. They can come at the most inopportune time. You think about life, and we get to prepare for a lot of things. You can prepare for a spelling test. You can prepare for a final exam. You can prepare for a nursing exam. You can prepare to get your driver license. But it's never the case that you can prepare for a storm. You never see people who watch the Weather Channel, who watch the news, and they look at the weather and say, you know what, okay, storm's coming Friday, I'll be prepared for it. Doesn't happen like that. Amen. Storms come at the most inopportune and most inconvenient times. Look at our text, Matthew chapter 8. First of all, notice verse number 18. Now when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. Here's Jesus teaching and preaching, and Jesus is out there ministering, out there, people are following him. And then Jesus sees the great multitude coming, and so he decides to go to the other side. And so as he prepares to depart to the other side, notice verse number 23. And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And so mind you, Jesus wants to go to the other side. His disciples want to follow him. And so in order to get to the other side, they got to go through a body of water. So they get into a ship. But the whole overall goal is to get to the other side. And so as they are preparing mentally to just cross over this body of water and to get to the other side, never in a million years will they ever cross their mind while they're out here in the middle of the sea, a storm will come. Storms come when we least expect it. We were not prepared. but we don't have everything all together. And so we're talking about natural storms. They come at the most inconvenient times. And you think about here, look at Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4. Brother Ham, if you will, look at Mark chapter 4.
All right.
Look at verse number 35 beginning.
In the same day, when the evening was come, he said unto them, let us pass over unto the other side.
You see, they try to go to the other side. And you think about sometimes in life, there are some things that you want to do, some places that you may want to go, and then a storm will come. It's nothing like a storm, better yet, even rain to just to dampen the mood on something that you were excited about. What else does it say?
And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship.
Notice now, they had to take Jesus as he was. They didn't have time to go back and get any clothing. They didn't have any time to go back and get snacks and foods for the journey. They had to take him as he was in the ship. What else does it say?
And there was also with him other little ships.
And
there arose a great storm of wind, and the water beat into the ship. So
bad
it
time.
was now full.
Everybody's trying to get to the other side. Storms come. Jesus is out there with his disciples in the ship and the other little ships. It's bad time because you know what? We're not prepared for a storm. Do you think last week or 2 weeks ago the people in Beaumont and Rockport and Corpus Christi and Houston were prepared to see the kind of damage that they are waking up to right now? I mean, it is unparalleled to just think. Just 2 weeks ago, our lives were normal. We were going about the normal day-to-day routine with nothing bothering us. Now we look up 2 weeks later and I can't even get into my house.
Amen.
Storms come at the most inconvenient time. Look at the Apostle Paul. Look at Acts chapter 19. Acts chapter 19 and verse number 21. Paul had a desire to go to Rome. He always wanted to go to Rome. Look at Acts 19 and verse 21.
After these things was ended, Paul purposed in the spirit when he had passed through Macedonia and Athens and here to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I have been there, I must also see Rome.
Now Paul says, I've been around the holy city. I've been around Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria, all of these important places in Palestine. But Paul wants to venture west. Paul wants to go to Italy. He had never been to Italy before. Never been to Rome before. Paul wants to go to Rome. That's one of his lifelong goals. You know what? If Paul was living today, that would be one of the things on Paul's bucket list.
All right. Yes, sir.
You got some places you want to go you've never been before? You got some place on your bucket list that you want to go before you die? Before you get too old or get to a place in your life where you can't do it? Paul had Rome on his bucket list. But now Paul wants to go to Rome, and when he has the opportunity to go, notice what happens. Look at Acts chapter 27 and verse number 1. Acts 27 and verse number 1.
And when it was determined that we should sail unto Italy.
Now Paul has the opportunity to go. Now when he has the opportunity to sail to Italy, to that great imperial city Rome, Paul has the opportunity to go now, but notice what happens. Notice what unfolds in the next series of events.
They delivered Paul and certain of other prisoners under one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus band. And entering into a ship of the admiralty, he launched, remaining to sail on the coast of Asia. One Atheus, a Macedonian, being with us. And the next day we touched at Ceylon, and Julius encouraged Paul and gave him liberty to go unto his friends to refresh himself.
So while en route to Rome, as they're upon the ship, Paul has the kind of influence and the kind of disposition that even the prisoner allowed Paul to go and visit some of his friends. Paul yielded and wielded that kind of influence. What else does it say there?
And when he had learned from them, we sailed under Cyprus because the wind was contrary.
Now they're in the ship. Now they're en route to Rome. And now while out here on the ship, while they're out here in the middle of the ocean, now there's a storm brewing. And so you can just see how this thing begins to unfold. Here's Paul's first opportunity to go to a place that he's desired, a place that he has longed to visit, a place that he has longed to see and experience, and now there's a storm brewing. Read on.
And when we had sailed over the sea of Cilys and Pamphylia, we came to Mysis, a city of Lylis. And there the centurion found a ship of Alexander sailing into Italy, and he put us thereon. And when we had sailed slowly many days, and scarcely was come over against clouds, the wind not suffered us.
The winds were so strong that they could not even make any type of progress in terms of trying to get to Italy. So he says, we sailed under Crete over against Salmonate, and then hardly passing it, came into a place which is called the Fair Havens, which is unto the city of Lasea. Now when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous. You see the progression? The wind started blowing, then it gets unbearable, now it's dangerous. But let me ask you a question. Where is he going to go? They're out here in the eye of the storm. They're in the middle of a ship on the ocean. They can't hop off the boat and run back to land. They can't do anything but wait this thing out. You see, sometimes we need to realize storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, all of these things, these natural disasters, these things that are extenuating in nature, these things come at the most inconvenient and most inopportune times. That's just a natural part of life. But then notice the second point. Notice now, when you go back to the text, Matthew chapter 8, notice verse number 24. Not only do we have to consider the timing of storms, but then notice now, when storms come, we don't get to pick and choose and say, don't tap this, don't do that. Notice now in the text, Matthew chapter 8, verse number 24.
And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, and as much as the ship was caught with a wave, but he was asleep.
The Bible says there was a great tempest. This was a strong storm. A great tempest. I mean, the winds were unbearable. There was a great tempest in the sea. And then the text says, and the ship was filled with water. Mark's account said that it was flooded over. Not only that, but notice how Matthew said it was so bad, the waves were in the sea, in the ship. The waves were inside of the ship. So when you think about it, here we are, we live every day, and we have to go through these periods where everything is fine. You know, when it's sunny outside, the weather is nice. Nobody thinks about, you know what, let me build up my faith. Let me renew my spirit. Let me encourage myself. And then we find ourselves in storms. Then we begin to panic. But sometimes we need to realize that even going through the physical storms of life, they can become so bad. And you think about right now with Harvey, I mean the flooding, I mean all of the wild animals, all of these things being displaced. They said one man woke up to a 10-foot gator in his living room. I mean, we cannot anticipate the kind of damage that storms will occur. Look at Mark chapter 4 again. Mark chapter 4. Notice verse number 37.
And there arose a great storm of wind, and the water beat into the ship, so that it was now full.
The text says the water was beating into the ship. I mean, basically almost about to tear the ship up. I mean, beating in, waves in and out. And so this is the ship that Jesus is in. But then let's go back to Acts chapter 27. When you go back to Acts chapter 27, beginning at verse 15, Paul occurs another storm. Acts 27 and verse number 15. Notice Acts 27 and verse 15.
And they that conducted Paul brought him unto Athens, and received a commandment unto Silas and Timothy, and Silas and Timothy to come to him with all speed to depart. Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was... No,
Acts 27. Acts 27:15. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. In other words, this storm was so bad. I mean that they basically had to just leave the storm, leave the ship at the storm's mercy. They could not try to control the wind or the skiffs or the sails or anything like that. But then it goes on to say, and running under a certain island, which is called Claudia, we have much work to come by the boat. It's so bad out here, they got to throw stuff off the boat. which when they had taken them, they used helps undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksands, they straight sailed, and so were driven. It is the case. This storm is so bad that they had no control of the ship. It was so bad, they basically had to let the winds drive the ship. Can you imagine driving in your vehicle and the winds are so strong there's no way that you can control or maneuver your vehicle? That's how strong the winds were while they were out here in the ocean. Then it says, and we being exceedingly tossed with the tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. I mean, the ship, the storm is basically tossing them back and forward, to and fro, like windshield wipers, from left to right. We're talking about a storm.
Amen.
All right. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. And notice verse number 20. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away.
Well,
can you imagine seeing these images on Monday? They got nursing homes and hospitals. People can't even escape. People are sitting there with water up to their chest, cannot move. You can't leave. People can't come to you. And so Paul said, you know what, it got so bad it felt like all hope was gone. Now imagine, so many people in Texas, before the water started receding, the sun started coming out, it probably felt like all hope was gone. I mean, to lose everything that you worked so hard to build and to attain. I mean, to lose everything. And you know what, as one man said, you know what, this storm did? It brought together both poor and rich, both black and white, both good and bad. All of us are affected by this storm. Then notice what else it says. But after long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, sirs, you should have listened to me. You should have hearkened unto me and not have loosed from Crete and have gained this harm and this loss. You know, it is the case that a week prior to Hurricane Harvey, news forecasters, weather forecasters told people it could get bad. Said the same thing when Katrina came. It is amazing that sometimes you can see people and people have the audacity and we'll just wait it out. How you gonna do that? We are no match against the elements of nature. Paul said, you know what, y'all should have listened to me. We are no match for this. And Paul said, if y'all would have listened to me, we would not have heard all of this loss, all of the tackling on the ship, everything that we brought en route to Rome, we would have still had it. Should have listened. Paul says in verse number 22. And now, I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. Paul said, let's take courage in the fact that although you guys didn't listen to me, and although you decided to venture out and voyage out based on your own wisdom and own thoughts about how we could make it, Paul says God will protect us. He's going to watch over us. And so some things about storm we need to understand is we cannot account for all of the damage that may occur. One man has said, you know what, when it's all said and done, when it comes down to the economical damage, the loss will be in the trillions of dollars. And we're talking about just in southeast Texas alone. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars of damage. One storm, a couple of days of flood. So we can't account for all of the damage. But then notice now, storms, when you go back to the text, the timing can be bad, the damage can be maximum, but then sometimes storms and inclement weather has a way of just unsettling us. Go back to the text, look at Matthew chapter 8 and verse number 25 and 26.
And his disciples came to him and awaked him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish.
Read on.
And he said unto them, why are ye fearful?
Notice now, they said, Lord, save us, we are perishing. Now these are the same disciples who has just saw Jesus heal a man. And they say, Lord, we're about to die and you don't care about us. You see, storms got a way of unsettling us, don't they? You know what? They can start lightning right now. Every little child in this room gonna be afraid. Because storms can be unsettling. And they can be unsettling for little children, but look at the apostles. These are grown men.
Right.
And here they are talking about, Lord, do you not care that we perish? But here's the thing. Their problem was not the wind. Their problem was not the waves. Their problem was not the water. Their problem is faith. They don't have any faith. That's their problem. You see, their problem was not the storm. Was not this great tempest. Their problem is faith. Notice what Jesus says. Verse number 26. And he said unto them, why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? You know the connection between fear and faith? Jesus said, y'all are fearful because you don't have any faith. And anytime you don't have no faith, you will fear. Do you remember what happened in Numbers chapter 13? Because those spies didn't have any faith. They came back unbelieving. And they came back afraid and fearful. You don't have faith. You're afraid. You have fear. You're worried. You'll be concerned. How's it going to turn out? How's it going to play out? But then guess what? Where did fear come from? It didn't come from God. Look at 2 Timothy 1 and verse number 7. 2 Timothy 1 and verse number 7. We need to consider this. Paul says in 2 Timothy 1 and verse number 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear.
Amen.
But of peace,
Amen.
love, and what's the last thing? A sound mind. God has given us the ability to have a sound mind even in the face of storms, even in the face of adversity, even when we're up against a hurricane Harvey. And then they talk about 2 or 3 days, there's one named Irma coming up. And so God has given us a spirit of peace and love and a sound mind. Will you consider Matthew chapter 8? The unbelief and the fear of the apostles is set in contrast to the faith of the centurion. Go back to Matthew chapter 8 and look at verse number 5. Notice now, their faith is set in contrast to the faith of the centurion. Matthew chapter 8 and verse number 5. And when Jesus was entering into Capernaum,
there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lies at home, sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him.
Jesus says, I'm on the way. Here the centurion comes to Jesus and tells Jesus, you know what? I got a servant at home, and he's sick, but I know all you got to do is say the word and he'll be all right. What is interesting about this? This is a centurion saying this.
Right.
This is a Roman person saying this. This is someone who works for the Roman government. This is not a Jew. This is not an Israelite. What else does it say?
The centurion answered and said, Lord, I'm not worthy that thou should comest under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed.
Now I want you to think about what he said. The centurion said, the way that my life is, I'm not worthy for you to come to my house right now. But I know this. You don't have to come to my house. You can stand right there where you at right now, Lord. And you can stand right there you are, and all you got to do is say the words, and it'll happen. Well, notice what else he says in the next verse.
For I am a man on authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another come, and he cometh. And to my servant do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard
now, notice what he says now. He says, I understand authority. I'm under authority to Pilate and also to the emperor. I'm under authority, and then I'm over some people. What does he say? You don't imagine why he said this. His statement shows us he understands the power of commands by words. He says, now I'm under authority. Somebody tells me to do something and I do it. But then I tell other people to do stuff and they do it. So he understands how commands and words work. And so he says this to show, Jesus says, I'm under authority and you got the power with your words to say something and it'll come to pass. All I need for you to do, I don't need you to come to the house. No. I just need for you to say the word. And once you say the word, as I understand how authority works, I know that my servant will be healed. When you think about this, this man knows that Jesus possesses the power to speak even an illness away. What else does it say?
And when Jesus heard it, he marveled.
Jesus marveled.
And said to them that followed, Very I say unto you, I have not found so great a faith, no, not in Israel.
Now notice what Jesus does. In actuality, by the time we read the account of the disciples in the boat, and when he says, why are ye so fearful, ye of little faith? He is rebuking them for their faith because they should have had faith in him.
Yeah.
They should believe in him.
Oh, yeah.
They saw his power. They saw his miracles. And how is it that they are following him and they don't have faith? But here's a man who just met him today, and this man believes in him.
Yes.
And so Jesus is rebuking them because they don't have any faith in him.
Amen.
It's amazing. Sometimes storms come. Sometimes difficult storms come up in our lives. Sometimes things happen to us. And all of a sudden, God's words don't have any power anymore. And so Jesus chides them. He rebukes them for their lack of faith. And so many times, when difficult things come, we don't have faith. But what is interesting about this is this. Jesus has just got through preparing them for storms. Go back to Matthew chapter 7. He has just got through talking about storms.
All right.
So how is it that you're not prepared for storms?
Well,
Matthew chapter 7 and verse number 24.
Therefore, whosoever heareth these saying of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock.
He's talking to his disciples. Within that number of the 12. And so Jesus said, I will liken you to a wise man that does what? What does a wise man do? The wise man, he structured his house on a solid foundation. So that when the storms come, when the wind comes, and the waves come, and the flood comes, he will be able to be sustained although the storms come. What does it say?
And the rain descended, and the flood came, and the wind blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand.
Now Jesus just got through talking about storms. Preparing your life and building your house on a solid foundation, so that when storms come, and they will come, and they come repeatedly, and they come often, you will be prepared. So how is it if I just got through talking about storms, you are now in the middle of the storm, and you're not prepared for it?
amen.
Right.
Amazing. Just got to talk about it. That is almost the essential of you going to school and your teacher explaining to you everything that's going to be on the test on Friday, and she has just gone over it on Thursday, and then come Friday morning, you're not prepared to take the test.
Well,
How does that happen? You know what that does? That makes the teacher look like a failure. So you can imagine how that makes Jesus look when he just got through telling them and preparing them about storm, but yet and still y'all not prepared for the storm.
Amen.
When you read Matthew chapter 7, do understand this. Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. Storms affect both the rich, poor, wise, foolish, young, old. It affects everybody. Well, what's the point? In Matthew chapter 7, you need to be prepared when they come. And how does one prepare his life and prepare himself for the storm that may come? By taking heed to the words of Christ. And so now here are the apostles, the 12 men that he handpicked for himself, and yet and still they don't believe in.
amen.
How in the world is he going to get them to be able to carry the gospel out to the rest of the world? They don't believe in him.
Amen.
And so we need to understand that. Jesus teaches us. He tells us often, even in his own life, storms will come. Storms do come. And they come. And you think about storms become so bad. Storms can impact our lives and cause us to be unsettled and unnerving. Can change our whole viewpoint of life. And here are the disciples who don't believe in Jesus. They are fearful. They are afraid. They are timid. And they are scared. And yet and still, they have the man on the boat. Who created nature.
Amen.
That's amazing. The very man who created nature on the boat with them in the midst of the storms, and they are still afraid. Well, what's the point, preacher? We are in the body of Christ. We are members of the body. He is the head of the church. And how is it we can get ourselves in the middle of the devil, and yet and still we don't believe?
Amen.
I I mean, he is the head of the church. We are the church. And then when we find ourselves in the ship, in the middle of the storm, in the eye of the storm, we don't believe it.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And then you think about it. Once you notice the relationship, think about Jesus and the storm. What was Jesus doing in the storm? The text says he was asleep. In Mark's account, the text said they had to go down and wake him up. And so you think about Jesus. You know what Jesus figured out? Jesus knew a long time ago what we just now found out in 2000. Some of the best sleep you could ever get. Is when it's raining and when it's storm. People tell you, you know what? Oh, it's raining outside. I can't do anything today. You know what? Go home and go to sleep. Jesus been through that. And so while it's storming, the waves are beating, the ship is in the middle of a storm, Jesus died of sleep. You think he worried about the storm? Amen. And how is that they are following him and he's not worried about the storm? Amen. In Matthew chapter 8, verse number 18, they following him. So if the one who I'm following, the leader, not afraid, why should I be afraid? Amen. Not only is Jesus asleep during the storm, but then notice Jesus' reaction to the storm. After they were fearful and afraid, and they woke Jesus up out of his sleep, and can't you just imagine how Jesus must have felt? Somebody wake you up out of peaceful sleep. You know somebody wake you up, the phone ring, text message or something like that, you try to get some sleep. Can you imagine how you would feel? And then when you wake up, and then you find out they don't want nothing. You won't be up for that. You try to sleep and the child can't find a remote to the television. It's a button on the side of the television that you can push and cut the thing on. You won't be up for that. Jesus was asleep in the middle of the storm. But then after they woke him up, notice what he does for the storm. Matthew chapter 8, verse 26 and 27.
And he said unto them, why are you fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. But
notice now, he's asleep during the storm. Once they wake him up, he rebukes the storm. The text says two things. There was a great tempest. Then there was a great calm. You think about the great tempest and the great calm. You know why that was the case? Because it was a great man on that ship. Amen. A great tempest, a great calm, but then you got a great Savior. Who was able to rebuke the winds and the waves and the sea. The text says after Jesus rebuked the winds and the waves and the sea, they marveled. They were amazed and they were astounded. They were surprised and they said, what manner of man is this? I mean, you got to think about what they're saying in relation to what they just said. They said, what manner of man is this? That even the winds and the waves obey him. But we just said